Welcome back to the Sheetkeeper. Today we're going to talk about keeping your balances correct between paychecks and adding detailed notes into your financial history. If you're new here, welcome. We've been building a spreadsheet in Google Sheets to model out your entire financial future longitudinally with an at-a-glance view, so you can quickly make smart financial decisions and see how those are going to impact your future. So you can do things like pay off debt, save money, plan for the future, anything you want to plan for financially. This is episode 5, and we spent the first 4 episodes building out our Google Sheet. I recommend that you go back to episode 1 if you haven't seen these before. Start there and build this along with us so that you know all the formulas inside and out, and you can customize this any way that you want and have something that you can take away and modify for as long as you want for free. But as always, if you need it, I will give you a copy of this spreadsheet, the exact one we're going to use today. It's the same one that we ended with at the end of episode 4. And you can download that and go right along with us. So if you've been following along so far, one of the things we haven't done yet is decided how we're going to keep track of things day to day during a pay period so that our spreadsheet is aligned with the balance that we have online in our checking account or our credit card and so forth. And I want to show you how to do that. So I'm starting here with the exact spreadsheet that we left off with at the end of episode 4. And you can see our paychecks coming in. You can see all of our expenses going out. You can see our checking account balance, our savings account balance, and our credit card balance. And just a reminder, you can change any of the assumptions in column B and see how those impact your financial future. So if I want to put $20 per paycheck in savings, I put a 20 in B15, I hit enter, and all of those numbers in E15 all the way to the right for 2 years out change to 20s. I'm going to change that back to 0 for now. So what do we do paycheck to paycheck to keep this current? Remember that anything in gray is expenses or our paychecks that we've already received or already paid out. Let's say it's late November. Let's say it's 11/20 today. And what I like to do is on payday, on 11/14, this is payday, my paycheck came in, and let's say that paycheck was $941.25, just like it was back on 10/17. On payday, I'm going to go into my spreadsheet and I'm going to put the actual value that came in over top of this formula. I change it to $941.25, and what I like to do is I gray out any value that I hard-coded in, and if the pay date has already elapsed, so if we're on the 14th, I make that gray also. I'll go up here to the formatting menu and I'll hit the paint can. I'm going to turn that gray, and there we go. So we've got our paycheck. Now what we want to do is, it's 11/20, remember, so we did this on payday. What are some of the expenses that already came out? All of these are going to come out at some point during this pay period, but which ones already came out as of today, 11/20? Let's say the rent came out on the first of the month and it was $750 like normal. Well, I'm going to hard code $750 in here. Right now, $750 is coming from this assumption over here in B4. You can see the formula. It's equal to B4. We want to hard code that value because we don't want that to change later on. We want a permanent record of what we actually paid out. We want to be able to go in and change our assumptions later and change future numbers. But the past numbers, those already happened. We're going to hard code those in. So I'm going to put 750 here and hit enter. And I'm going to gray that out also. And I also like to gray out the empty boxes just so everything looks tidy at the end of the pay period. I'll hit the paint can again, turn it gray. Okay, so it's November 20th. We got our paycheck back on the 14th. We paid our rent. Let's say we paid one more bill. Let's say we paid the home internet already, and it came in and we ended up paying $39.99 for that. I'm going to hard code that in, and I'm going to make that gray. And to keep things tidy, I'm going to make the empty boxes gray around it as well. I'll hit the paint can and make that gray. Okay, so here we are, 6 days into the pay period. And our checking account right now is formula-based. And we don't need it to be anymore. We have an actual online view. We go to our bank, we log in, we can see what the balance is. And I know it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be some things that came out of checking that maybe you didn't expect. Maybe there was a subscription you thought you canceled, you didn't. Paramount Plus or the Hulu or something like that. And so that came out. And say you went to a vending machine and you spent a couple of dollars on a drink or something and you use your debit card. And so that came out. So now we have an exact balance sitting there in our checking account. And in our checking account, we should already see that this paycheck came in and the rent went out. And we'll also see the home internet went out. So what we want to do is we want to adjust the checking account balance and hard code in a value, but still we're expecting these other expenses to come out before the next paycheck on November 28th. So let's say I go online to my bank. I see my actual balance in my checking account. I see that the paycheck came in. I see that the rent went out. I see that this home internet already went out. And my balance today, with all those other little expenses that might be there, is $2,070. Okay, so I'm going to put $2,070 here in E21. But there's something else I want to do here. I don't just want to make it $2,070. I want to see what that will be through this whole pay period. So what's my balance today minus the expenses that are still going to come out in this pay period? So I don't just want to put $2,070 here because I still have future expenses that I expect to come out before I get the next paycheck. And what I want this number to be is a number that shows me what's going to be left in checking when we get to the end of this pay period right before we get that next paycheck. So I want to put a formula here. I don't just want a static value. What I want to do is take my equal sign. I'm going to say equals 2070 minus these other expenses that are still going to come out before we get paid again. So I'm going to say minus the sum of, and I'm going to open a parenthesis here, and I'm going to make a list, minus the sum of, I'm going to hold down the Command or Control key because I'm going to select some cells, my car payment. That's still white. That hasn't come out yet. I still have to pay my car insurance. Let's click on the credit card. I still need to pay that. And let's click on the food, gas, and entertainment. So it's minus this list, minus all of these added together. Close the parentheses and hit enter. And now I'm going to see it's $1,300. $1,300 is my current balance that I can see online in my checking account, minus all these expenses we have not paid yet. So this kind of keeps you safe. This makes you say, okay, I know what bills are coming. I know that once I pay all those bills before I get my next check, those are all going to go out and I'm going to have $1,300 left. So I'm still okay. So if some expense comes up and you need to know what's going to be in checking before you get paid again, now you have that number every day. You don't just look at your checking account balance online and say, I've got that much. You look at your checking account balance online and you subtract what's still coming at you in these next 8 days before we get that paycheck on 11/28. Now, what do we do about this one? Food, gas, and entertainment. We've already spent some money on this stuff. We're like 6 days into the pay period. So what you want to do here is take your best guess at what you're still going to spend on food, gas, and entertainment through the rest of the pay period. So it shouldn't be $205. That's the whole amount that you budgeted. Let's say that we think we can get by until 11/28 on 170. Let's put that in. I put 170 in here. I hit enter. And now I know I'm going to have $1,335 left in checking at the end of this pay period, as long as I stick to that $170. I don't want to gray anything out yet that hasn't actually been incurred. I can gray out the stuff that has a zero or is not going to happen. So let's gray those out too. And so this is what your spreadsheet should look like when you're between paychecks. You should have the paycheck that came in should be grayed out. You have that number. You filled in all of the actual values with hard-coded values for anything that's already come in. Those are grayed out as well. And you can clearly and quickly see the white areas where you still have a bill coming. And that helps you too, because for whatever reason, if an amount doesn't come out, then you can look back and say, whoa, why did my car payment come out this month? That does that automatically, and it didn't happen. And you can call your lender and figure out why it didn't come out. Make sure that you make that payment on time. You'll always know which bills you have paid and which bills you haven't paid. And here's one more thing you can do. I like to add some notes to these expenses. I don't do it for all of them, but I do it sometimes. So let's say it was time to pay your credit card and you decided to only put $100 in instead of your normal $140. I'll put $100 in there. I'll hit enter and I'm going to gray it out. I want to put a note here though, because I want to remember why I only paid $100. So I'm going to right click on that and I'm going to say insert note. And it lets me type in whatever I want here. Just a note to myself later on. When I look back on this in a few months and I say, why did E only put 100 toward the credit card instead of 140? I can leave anything I want here. I can say, I only put 100 in this pay period because I needed $40 to send Beatrice on a field trip. I don't have a child named Beatrice, but you might. Beautiful name. Now if I hover over that cell, the note comes up and it will be there for good. So I can leave any note I want to here and I can look back and see why did I make that decision or what happened there. I really like to use these notes on discretionary. If discretionary is very high for some reason, if it's really low for some reason, then I like to put a note in there and remind myself why I spent so much in that pay period or why I didn't spend so much in that pay period. You can be as obsessive as you want about this. You can go in every day and you can reconcile this with your checking account. You don't have to. Sometimes I do every single day. Sometimes I'll go a week and a half without going in there because I know I have enough in checking to cover everything. Whatever your situation may be, use this tool as you will. But at the end of every pay period, that's when all the boxes should be grayed out. You shouldn't have any bills that you missed. You should have your exact number for what you spent on food, gas, and entertainment, and your checking account balance and savings and credit card should match up perfectly with what you see online. And that's it for this episode. You've got your setup. Just do this as often as you like. Rinse and repeat, like the shampoo says. I don't know why they say that. I think it's to sell more shampoo. I don't really think that you need to wash your hair twice. You don't know if I have long hair or not. I could have a whole bun up under this. You don't know. Maybe I got short hair. Maybe I have no hair. I gave you a hint though. I do know how to use shampoo. In the next episode, we're going to do something that is a little bit scary. I'm going to give you a crazy formula that lets you finally align all of these expenses with the exact paycheck they come out of. Right now, we're doing something to be very simple and basic, and we're just assuming that we get a bi-weekly paycheck, but it's not really 2 pay periods a month because sometimes you get 3 in a month. And so if you really want to align these expenses perfectly with the dates that are above the expenses, there's a way to do it. I'm going to show you that. I don't even necessarily recommend you do it because the formula is complex and there's room for error there. But if you really want to, we're going to do it. So click on the next episode. For now, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.